Right, so the Tories have come in for a huge amount of public flack of late over the number of migrants that are being kept in hotels, not only because of the large expense to the public purse that is creating with this backlog of theirs that they haven't dealt with, but also making these people targets for the knuckle-dragging dregs of our society, the people that pass themselves off as the likes of Patriotic Alternative. They're the fash. Call them what they are, if the boot fits. The criticism aimed at the Tories over this has come from all manner of sources, from the likes of Nigel Farage, pointing off the clifftops, as he likes to do, at all the small boats coming here, bemoaning the numbers of them coming here, completely omitting to mention that it's the Brexit he championed that has led to this migrant crisis. The lack of a returns policy in place, thanks to Boris Johnson's turkey of an oven-ready deal. And frankly, the biggest criticism of the Tories should be their lack of any work on correcting that. We don't need to be in the EU to have a returns policy with them regarding asylum seekers, after all. Criticism has also come from Starmer's Labour, though the crux of that is always that the Tories are not moving fast enough in what they're doing. Not that what they are doing is flagrantly racist and offensive, and pretty much guaranteeing that Labour wouldn't do anything much different themselves. The argument against all of this has come mainly from the general public, the people who are on the side of the refugees, the people who are disgusted by how people fleeing war, or goodness knows what else, are being treated like prisoners of war. Amongst the fortunate ones, I suppose, if they're in a hotel and not a wire-surrounded hellhole like numerous detention centres have proved to be, the most notorious being the Manston detention centre, the stories concerning which would make your skin crawl if you haven't already heard them. Where the government should be focusing on processing the asylum claims of people trapped in such surroundings, dealing with this backlog, investing more to get a grip of it, investing in more resources to get that job done more quickly so that those whose claims are successful can be free to live and work and contribute to our economy and live in our society, whilst those whose asylum claims fail can be returned to where they came from. Of course, we know that's not what the Tories want to do. They just want to stick all of them on a plane to Rwanda and forget they ever existed, regardless of their asylum rights, regardless of their stories, regardless of where they came from, regardless of their human rights. They don't want them here, full stop. And for some reason, I can only assume it is because they are inherently racist and evil, they prefer this option to a new returns policy to share the load regarding rehoming of refugees. Our government doesn't want to do that, despite weapons they've often sold, often resulting in the creation of all of these said refugees, or a great many of them. For a guy with a big mouth like mine, I really can't find a word strong enough that I want to use to describe this government in relation to this matter, which brings me to the point of this video, which is that the Tories are investing in something all right, but they're investing in getting asylum seekers out of hotels. They're investing in fixing their bad press over this. They are not, however, investing in the well-being and interests of these people that they're functionally driving around the country like cattle. Many of these people arrive by small boat. There is no legal route of entry to apply for asylum here, so they use their human rights recognised under international law to get here any way they can and claim asylum once they are here, free of prosecution, as they then are under the human rights conventions that we're signed up to. The Tories, in a wicked twist of irony, want to put them back on boats to accommodate them now instead of hotels. Instead, plan to utilise decommissioned ferries as their new digs. How long ago were these ferries decommissioned then? What state are they in as a result? Are they fit for human habitation still? How much will this cost? Last time I looked, the government didn't own any ferries. The Tory Burke Chris Grayling, failing Grayling as he's better known. Remember him? Remember he handed a ferry contract at one point to a company with no ferries? Another Brexit victory there. Well, if the government actually had some ferries, perhaps they wouldn't have had to cancel the contract there. So who's providing these decommissioned ones now? Because presumably somebody still owns them. Are we buying them or leasing them? How much to refit them for this purpose? And how much is the outlay? And is this really going to be cheaper than hotels? Not to mention the bigger point, is it going to be a humane place for these people to stay? Aside from putting refugees on boats, though, the Tories also plan to use military bases to house them. Now, of course, the MOD own these, government owned. Presumably they'll save on rent and, of course, barbed wire to keep them all in. Neither of these options are concentration camps, you must understand, though. Firm denials on that. Absolutely not. Should we find a new name for them, then? How about convergence chalets? What about victim vacation homes? How about gulag guest houses? Or is that a little bit on the nose? I'm sure you can think of some more. One of the MOD bases proposed to be used is RAF Scampton, which is where the famous Dam Busters raids were launched from, and another is the MDP Wethersfield in Braintree in Essex, and responses to these bases being proposed have been overwhelmingly negative. However, it has tickled me somewhat when you consider Scampton is in Lincolnshire, that county being the most Brexity, overwhelmingly Tory place as it is. Its local council, Tory run, has kicked off at the thought of refugees being housed there, even though that base has been completely disused since last year. Braintree's MP is the unfortunately named James Cleverly, who I'm sure many of us are familiar with, basically because he isn't. Complaining about local roads is where he's gone with this, and the infrastructure not being able to cope. So we have Tories kicking off about hotels being used, but more so the thought of resolving that issue by moving refugees and asylum seekers anywhere near them too. A bit of NIMBYism going on. That said, though, you'd think such a move would please some, particularly with Sunak's foul immigration bill undergoing scrutiny at committee stage on Monday and Tuesday of next week. But unbelievably, there are actually some Tory MPs for whom this bill still isn't tough enough. Despite the bill almost certainly falling foul of international human rights laws, even as it stands now, some of them want the bill amended to strip any role from the European Court of Human Rights out of any illegal migration process the Tory government set up, making it a certainty that the bill will fall foul of international law if passed, and smacks of a hard right rump of Tories determined to see the Human Rights Act seceded from, turning us into a pariah state internationally, and of course putting all of our human rights on the chopping block too. Individuals named as trying to pull this stunt are Danny Kruger, the son of Bake Off's Prue Leith, Dr. Death himself, Ian Duncan Smith, and national embarrassments such as John Redwood and Simon Clarke. Terrifyingly, it's being reported that aside from those named, there could be as many as 60 Tories all wanting to do the same thing. If you still think this is a government that can't sink any lower, it's going to keep proving you wrong. Toughening up an already appallingly racist and shameful bill whilst moving refugees out of hotels and into military bases come concentration camps and turning ferries into prison ships. These are people, not numbers, we're talking about here. Vulnerable, afraid, in a place completely alien to them, their lives destroyed, and they came here hoping for help and face this shit instead. Not in my name. What a nasty, tiny little country we've become with such despotic people in charge. It's time something was done about them more than these asylum seekers and refugees. Thanks for watching. If you appreciated this video, please do hit like and subscribe, leave a comment and hit the notification bell too so you don't miss the next one. Also look out for me on social media and other interesting stuff by clicking on the Linktree link in the comments below. And I will see you next time. Cheers, folks.